And welcome back in this final question of the week. So question 5 of volume 3. And I've gone with another 3D shapes question. And the reason for that is because it's not overly obvious what to do here. Now, as with the question earlier in this set of questions, depending on which exam you do, depends on what formula you get given. So unlike the last question, I'm actually going to put the formula up on the screen just so we all know we're looking at the same thing. So have a go at the question. I'm going to pause the video and we're back in a minute. Okay, so how do we do? So the question basically wants you to do some shape work and then work out the value of k. But let's go through what it wants nice and clearly. So the first part that's important is it says the radius of the hemisphere and the radius of the circular base are both 20. Now the reason that's really important is if I look at my formula, in order to work out the volume of a cone, I need r, which I've now got, and I need h, which I don't have. The volume of a sphere is r, which I have, and the volume of the curved surface area is going to be r and this thing called L, which it doesn't explain what that is in the formula sheet at all. So let's carry on with the question. The question then says, well, the volume of the solid is k pi, and it wants the value of k. All right, so clearly the question is going to be about volumes and surface areas. So let's just set up what I think I need to ultimately do. I need to work out the volume of the solid, which is going to be the volume of the cone plus the volume of the hemisphere. Well, I can do the hemisphere because I have r. I can't do the cone. So I'm just going to write all of that out underneath just so I know which steps I need to fill in later. All right, let's continue. Now, it's going to have to give me another piece of information. And the other piece of information it gives me is the curved surface area is 580 pi. Again, the reason pi is there because it cancels and makes it easier. So I'm going to go to the idea that I know, and it may be on your formula sheet or you may need to remember it, I know the curved surface area of a cone is pi times r times L, which means that I know that pi times r times L is going to be equal to 580. And the other thing I know, which is the key to the question, is I know if it's a right cone, in other words, the center of the cone is directly above the center of the base, I know it's also a Pythagoras question where I know L is my slanted line. I know 20 is my radius, which is here, and h is the thing that I want. Again, this is a Pythagoras question. So let's carry on filling that data. So remember what I said. So I've got pi RL is equal to 580 pi. I know that R is 20, so therefore 20L is equal to 580. I've cancelled my pi's down, and therefore L is 29. Now, as a slight aside, if you know your Pythagorean triples, I do know there's one that says 20, 21, 29. So I'm feeling a little bit better because I know this is going to be a nice number, even though this is a calculator question. But anyway, Pythagoras. So Pythagoras tells us that h is going to be the square root of L squared minus 20 squared. I know L is 29. Put those values in, and I get 21. As I say, this is a Pythagorean triple. That feels a bit better. Now, crucially, I have my R. Let's go back to the formula. I've got my R. I've got my H. I'm going to put all these values in. And once I've done the hard work, it's just a case of carefully putting it in my calculator, press go, and I am going to get this number down here. And again, adding these two numbers together gives me this value. Now, the question says work out the value of k. Again, be really careful here. You've got the right format. So I need a number times pi. I've got a number times pi. K is therefore 24400 divided by 3. That is all 5 questions done. If you got this question, well done. Again, I don't think it's the most tricky question. A lot of these questions this week have really been about just really careful setup and just making sure you're using what you know in a way to get to the final answer and having a very clear strategy in what you're trying to get. So again, looking through how I did this question, I worked out what I needed, I worked out what I had to get what I needed, and then I just followed those steps through. You do not get marks for doing irrelevant mathematics. As ever, please do leave a comment, like, subscribe, usual thing, please, and I will see you on the next set of questions. Thanks all.